Hey, in this episode we're painting a really quick fantasy sketch, and as usual I will go through all the main steps so you guys can see how I end up with the final image. My name is Victor, I'm a concept artist, I work for film and games. I really hope you'll enjoy the process. Alright, let's start! Alright, and the first thing you see me doing is putting down underpainting with a warm tone. And the reason for that is that it will sort of unify the whole painting later on. Bits and pieces of this warm tone will be seen through the layers I will paint on top, and it will sort of circulate throughout the whole image. Once I'm done with that, I wanted to figure out a very quick linework sketch for the composition, and I'm trying to understand where I want my characters to be, some proportions, designing some things, but it's very rough, so I'm not spending a lot of time on it, just a couple of minutes. But the next step would be to figure out the lighting and the mood of the scene. And the easiest would probably be to start with the sky and kind of figure things out from the background. Another important approach is maybe to not push your values too quickly in the beginning, so don't get the darkest darks and the brightest lights in the scene right from the start. Try to get a feel for the values and at first maybe work in the mid-range. This will help you plan ahead a little bit and sort of get a readable composition later on. I'm trying now to kind of solve the silhouettes of the characters we have in the background. So I figured that these are supposed to be some sort of giants or maybe titans, things like that, and you can see them being backlit from the background. Also, maybe we'll be able to create some sort of difference and contrast between them, the environment, and our smaller actual human characters in the foreground riding horses or things like that. Trying to figure out the forest and the environment in general, because in the initial sketch I planned some groups of trees. Right now I'm trying to figure out what kind of shape that's creating and how we can unify that, sort of create a readable composition out of that. Another question I was asking myself is what to do with this sort of plane of the mountain, side of the mountain that we have in the middle ground. It sort of worked in my head when I was doing the initial sketch, the linework sketch, but now as I'm trying to describe the form, the plane that is sketching the light, I'm sort of understanding that maybe it's not fitting quite right, because it's messing a little bit with the scale of our objects. Since it looks like a huge rock, it doesn't emphasize the fact that our giants in the background are huge. So I'm slowly kind of understanding that and figuring out that maybe I should remove it altogether. So since it's on a different layer, that's not very hard to do at all. I was just figuring out the clouds in the background and then returning to this boulder, which is supposed to be a mountain, but I'm returning to it and I'm thinking that I should better remove it. It will help our composition, and also it will give us an opportunity to describe the background even better and like sort of place a valley over there, or maybe some castle and other smaller objects that will definitely kind of look better with these giants in the background. Okay, so now it's time to address the lighting in the background, and instead of actually painting it by hand, I figured it would be much easier and simpler to just create a color layer on top, change it to color mode, and go for the lookup tables in Photoshop, the default tool in Photoshop, and sort of introduce a stronger contrast with the light from the background. And also, in order to be more precise, in layer options, if you right click the layer on the right and you go to layer blending options, you can actually select the area it can affect. So I sort of remove this layer from the darker values, which means that it's affecting the sky, the background, whereas you can notice that we have lighter values, but it's not affecting the foreground with the darker values of the trees. Once I was happy with that, I went ahead and sort of gave a little bit of contrast to our main character in the background, indicating, not actually describing precisely, but just indicating hints here and there of forms and maybe some details from his design. And another thing I really wanted to do is get rid of this road in the middle of our composition, because it was not very readable, it was a bit too noisy, and I figured that maybe instead of that we can place a river, something like that, and it would kind of introduce like a cool element and sort of bring a bit more interest to our composition. So by just using a basic select tool, I just carved in the silhouette of the river and replicated the color from the skies, because I think in flag the sky on the background, so I think this is good enough. And at this stage in the whole painting process, I think it's time to start worrying about details, maybe some textual information, so we don't leave things so empty. Alright, so this is the final image. I've also did some color adjustments and I dropped a sharpening layer on top of it to emphasize the contrast in some areas. Thank you so much for watching till the end. I hope you enjoyed the video and found it helpful. If you did, feel free to subscribe and drop a like, helps a lot. Also, if you want to check a similar video process I've done on the channel, check the link above. Thank you again so much for watching till the end. I hope to see you in the next one, coming soon.